The fluorescent lights of the emergency room at St. Jude's Hospital hummed with their usual frantic energy. It was a Saturday night, and the city, in its chaotic rhythm, was delivering its regular quota of emergencies. A car crash victim, a child with a high fever, and a steady stream of minor injuries. Amidst the controlled chaos stood Sarah Jenkins, a 24-year-old registered nurse. Her uniform, crisp earlier in the day, now bore faint smudges, and her usually bright eyes held a familiar weariness. Yet, beneath the fatigue, there was an unwavering dedication, a quiet strength that made her a favorite among patients and colleagues alike. Sarah was meticulously charting vitals for an elderly patient when the automatic doors hissed open with unusual force. A man burst in, his face contorted in terror, his eyes wide and darting. He clutched his side, a dark stain spreading rapidly across his shirt. Behind him, a second figure, cloaked in shadow, followed a glint of metal in his hand. The air in the air, already taut, snapped with a sudden, chilling tension. "He's got a gun!" someone screamed. Chaos erupted. Doctors and nurses instinctively ducked, scattering for cover. Patients in the waiting area cried out, scrambling behind chairs. The man who had burst in, clearly the target, stumbled, losing his footing, his eyes wide with desperate fear. The gunman, a gaunt figure with a cold, determined expression, raised his arm, aiming directly at the fallen man, a silent promise of death in his posture. Without a moment's hesitation, without a conscious thought for her own safety, Sarah moved. It was an instinct, a pure, unadulterated surge of protective adrenaline that bypassed fear. She threw herself forward, placing her body, a fragile shield of flesh and bone, between the gunman and the terrified stranger. A deafening crack echoed through the ARA sound that seemed to rip through the very fabric of reality. A searing pain exploded in her shoulder, a white-hot agony that stole her breath, making her vision swim. She crumpled to the ground, the world tilting precariously, the last thing she saw being the shocked face of the gunman, before darkness began to creep in. The gunman, startled by her unexpected intervention, by the sheer audacity of her selfless act, hesitated for a split second. That was all the time the hospital security guard, a former police officer named Frank, needed. He tackled the assailant with surprising speed, sending the gun skittering across the polished floor with a loud clatter. Within moments, the ER was swarming with police, their radios crackling, sirens wailing in the distance, growing louder with each passing second as patrol cars converged on the scene. Sarah lay on the cold linoleum, her vision blurring, the pain a relentless throb that consumed her entire being. She could hear frantic voices, feel hands on her, the familiar urgency of medical professionals now focused on her. The rescuer suddenly in need of rescue. Nurse down GSW to the shoulder. Get a trauma team here now. Massive blood loss. Possible arterial involvement. The words were muffled, distant, as if spoken underwater. The next few hours were a haze of pain, bright lights, and muffled voices. She remembered the comforting presence of Dr. Evans, the chief surgeon, his calm, reassuring voice guiding the team, a steady anchor in the storm of her pain. She felt the gentle pressure of skilled hands, the cool touch of antiseptic, the prick of needles. The bullet had gone clean through her shoulder, a miracle in itself, narrowly missing bone and major arteries, a fraction of an inch making all the difference. She was lucky, they said, incredibly lucky, a true miracle. The news of Sarah's heroic act spread like wildfire through the hospital, a story of selfless courage that resonated deeply with everyone who heard it. Then, it spread beyond the hospital walls. Local news channels picked up the story, their reporters scrambling for details. Young nurse takes bullet for stranger in US shooting. Her face, pale and tired in the hospital bed, was plastered across screens, a symbol of unexpected heroism. The man she saved, a low-level informant for the FBI named Dave Rodriguez, was recovering in another part of the hospital, under heavy guard, his life saved by a stranger's quick thinking. He had seen her act, had witnessed her selfless courage, and had already given a tearful account to the authorities. The day after the shooting, Sarah woke up to the soft beeping of monitors and the gentle hum of the hospital room, a stark contrast to the previous night's chaos. Her shoulder throbbed, a dull ache now, a constant reminder of what had happened. But she felt a strange sense of peace, a quiet satisfaction. She had done what she believed was right, without hesitation, without thought for herself. Her mother Mary, a woman whose strength Sarah had always admired, sat by her bedside, her eyes redrimmed from worry and lack of sleep, but now filled with immense pride. "You're a hero, baby," she whispered, stroking Sarah's hair, her voice thick with emotion. "My brave girl." Just then, a nurse poked her head in, her eyes wide with a mixture of bewilderment and, "Sarah, there are visitors for you, a lot of them, and they're very official." Sarah mumbled, confused. trying to push herself up slightly. She wasn't expecting anyone besides close family and maybe a few colleagues. "They said they're with the Marines," the nurse replied, her voice barely a whisper, as if speaking of mythical beings. "And they're waiting outside your room, all 12 of them, in their dress blues." Sarah's brow furrowed. Marines. She didn't know any Marines. Her mind, still hazy from medication, struggled to make sense of it. Was this some kind of dream? A few moments later, the door swung open, and the sight that greeted Sarah silenced her completely, stealing what little breath she had. Standing in the hallway, in a perfectly aligned formation, were 12 Marines. Not just any Marines. These were men and women in full dress blues, their uniforms immaculate, pressed to perfection, their brass gleaming, their medals sparkling under the fluorescent lights. Their faces were solemn, their postures ramrod straight, radiating an aura of quiet strength, profound respect, and an almost intimidating discipline. At the front stood a tall, imposing figure with the rank of captain on his shoulder, his gaze unwavering. Captain David Miller stepped forward, his polished black shoes clicking softly on the linoleum. He was a man whose presence commanded attention, his eyes holding a depth that spoke of battles fought and sacrifices made, a quiet intensity that was both respectful and formidable. "Nurse Sarah Jenkins," Captain Miller stated, his voice deep and resonant, filling the hospital room with its authority, yet softened by genuine reverence. "On behalf of the United States Marine Corps, and by direct order of General Elias Vance, we are here to express our deepest gratitude and respect for your extraordinary act of courage." Sarah stared, utterly bewildered. General Elias Vance, the 4-star general. She had seen his face on the news, a legendary figure, a titan of the military. Why would he send Marines for her? What connection could she possibly have to someone of his stature? "Your selfless act of bravery, placing yourself in harm's way to protect a fellow human being, exemplifies the highest ideals of service and courage," Captain Miller continued, his voice unwavering, each word delivered with precision and sincerity. "It is the very essence of what we, as Marines, strive to embody. You are a true hero, Nurse Jenkins, in every sense of the word." He then snapped a crisp salute, his hand moving with practiced precision, followed in perfect unison by the 11 other Marines behind him. The sound of their salutes, sharp and precise, echoed in the sterile hospital room, a powerful, unexpected tribute that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. It was a moment of profound honor, a gesture of respect that transcended rank and station. Sarah, overwhelmed by the unexpected tribute, felt tears welling in her eyes, blurring her vision. She tried to speak, to offer a thank you, but her voice caught in her throat, choked by emotion. Furthermore, Captain Miller added, lowering his salute, his expression softening slightly, "General Vance has instructed us to inform you that your medical bills and any associated recovery costs, including physical therapy and any necessary follow-up care, have been fully covered. Additionally, he has established a substantial trust in your name to ensure your future security and to allow you to pursue any path you choose, free from financial burden. This is a gesture of profound appreciation for your courage and sacrifice." Sarah's mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Sarah herself could only stare speechless, her mind struggling to comprehend the magnitude of this unexpected gift. A trust-covered medical bills. This was beyond anything she could have ever imagined. A life-changing intervention. "General Vance believes that true heroes should be honored, not burdened," Captain Miller concluded. "He extends his personal regards and wishes you a swift and complete recovery. We will maintain a discreet presence outside your room for the duration of your stay, ensuring your safety and privacy, and preventing any further incidents from those who might wish harm upon the individual you protected." With another crisp salute, Captain Miller and his Marines turned and marched out of the room, their footsteps echoing down the hallway, a rhythmic cadence that faded into the distance, leaving Sarah and her mother in stunned silence, grappling with the surreal reality of what had just transpired. The news of the Marines' visit and General Vance's incredible generosity quickly spread through the hospital, then the city, and finally, the nation. It was a story that captivated everyone: the young nurse, the selfless act, and the unexpected, profound recognition from the highest echelons of the military. It became a viral sensation, a beacon of hope in a cynical world. General Elias Vance, a man known for his quiet integrity, his deep respect for service, and his unwavering commitment to his troops, had been deeply moved by Sarah's story. He had personally known Sergeant Kelly, the Marine laid to rest in the earlier story, a young man whose sacrifice had deeply affected him. Vance had always believed that true leadership meant recognizing and rewarding courage wherever it was found, not just on the battlefield. The man Sarah had saved, Dave Rodriguez, was indeed a crucial FBI informant, and his information had led to the dismantling of a major, international criminal organization responsible for drug trafficking and human smuggling. Sarah's intervention had not only saved his life, but had also ensured the success of a critical, long-running operation that had far-reaching implications for national security. Vance saw in Sarah the same spirit of selfless service, the same unwavering moral compass that defined the best of his own troops. He recognized a kindred spirit, a civilian hero whose actions resonated deeply with the military ethos. Over the next few weeks, Sarah's recovery was swift, aided by the best medical care money could buy, courtesy of General Vance. The presence of the Marines outside her room, a silent, unwavering guard, became a source of comfort and a constant reminder of the extraordinary turn her life had taken. She learned that Captain Miller and his team were part of a specialized unit, often deployed for sensitive protection details for high-value assets or witnesses. Their presence was not just symbolic, it was a genuine security measure, ensuring no reprisals from the criminal elements connected to the man she had saved, who were now facing severe federal charges. The hospital staff, initially awestruck, quickly grew accustomed to the stoic presence of the Marines, who maintained a respectful distance, yet were always vigilant. When she was finally discharged, a small crowd had gathered outside the hospital. Eager reporters, curious well-wishers, and, of course, Captain Miller and his 12 Marines, standing at attention, their uniforms gleaming in the sunlight. Sarah, leaning on a cane, her shoulders still bandaged but healing, felt a surge of emotion, gratitude, humility, and a profound sense of responsibility. She wasn't just a nurse anymore. She was a symbol, a testament to the quiet heroism that often went unnoticed. A living embodiment of courage. Captain Miller approached her, his expression solemn but respectful. "Nurse Jenkins, your transportation is ready." He gestured to a discreet black SUV with tinted windows. "General Vance has also arranged for a temporary residence for you, away from the public eye, a secure and comfortable home until you are fully recovered and ready to decide your next steps. Your privacy and safety remain our top priority." Sarah nodded, overwhelmed by the continued thoughtfulness. "Thank you, Captain, thank you all. More than I could ever have imagined." "No thanks necessary," Nurse Miller replied, a rare, genuine smile touching his lips, a warmth in his eyes. "You did what was right. That's all that matters. You upheld the highest ideals of humanity. We are merely following the General's orders to honor that." In the months that followed, Sarah used the trust established by General Vance not for lavish living, but for further education, a path she had always dreamed of but never thought financially possible. She pursued a master's degree in public health, driven by a newfound passion for preventative care, community outreach, and advocating for underserved populations. She understood that her act of heroism, while dramatic and life-altering, was a single moment. True impact, she realized, lay in systemic change, in building healthier, safer communities, in preventing the very circumstances that had led to her fateful encounter. She remained in contact with General Vance, who became a mentor, offering guidance and support, his wisdom a guiding light in her new journey. He saw in her not just a hero, but a leader with immense potential, a compassionate mind capable of profound change. He often spoke of the importance of quiet strength, of leading by example, and of the profound responsibility that came with influence and the ability to make a difference. Their bond, forged in an extraordinary moment, blossomed into a deep, mutual respect. Sarah never forgot the day she took a bullet for a stranger. The scar on her shoulder was a permanent reminder, not of pain, but of purpose. But more importantly, she never forgot the day 12 Marines waited outside her hospital. A silent, powerful testament to unexpected gratitude, the enduring power of selfless courage, and the profound interconnectedness of lives. Her life, once a predictable path of long shifts and modest had been irrevocably altered, set on a trajectory she could never have imagined. She became a tireless advocate for healthcare access, a voice for the vulnerable, and a living embodiment of the principle that a single act of bravery could ripple outwards, inspiring a nation and changing a life forever, proving that heroism wasn't just found on battlefields, but in the quiet courage of everyday people.